Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for 10.7. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. Come check out the stream. We start around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. Usually go till about 2:30 or 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come by, check it out. Very friendly, chill community. I try to explain as much as I can while I'm playing to help you sort of understand and appreciate the game a little bit more. I try to answer any questions in chat. Sometimes we have some old man stories and just random ramblings, based on what some people are saying in the chat. So come on by. It's a good time. And if you like these types of things, check out the tier list as well. I do a support tier list and then an all-roll tier list for every patch. And then we have individual guides as well. How to macro better, how to micro better, best one-trick champions. There's all kinds of stuff on the channel, so go check it out. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started here. So first up, they're doing the pre-made, balance, and ranked. I gotta tell you, I didn't notice that much of a difference in the last patch. They said they were going to have autofill parity a little bit more. It still felt like there were quite a few lopsided games. Now, part of that is, and I explained this in the last patch notes too, that a lot of people autofill themselves. Right, so they will deliberately pick a role that they're not proficient in, or they will deliberately pick a champion they don't have a lot of experience on. There's just no way that the system can account for that. The best way they tried to do that last season was by doing rank by role, but people abused that and they had to take it away. So there's just hardly any way to get away from human nature in that. I guess it's not human nature, but human temptation to try variety, to try novelty, to try things that are new and different, but that means you're not going to be as good on it and you're not going to perform as high. And that's just how it is. But they're trying to take one more step in that direction and give duo parity now. So they're trying to say if one team has a duo, they're trying to make sure the other team also has a duo. Once again, it's a nice gesture. It's a good idea. Is it going to make a huge difference in quality of matchmaking? Probably not, but once again, I don't think there's a lot they can do outside of doing something like maybe taking away autofill completely, which, they're not able to do time-wise. But you just can't stop people from YOLOing champions. That's just pretty much it. But anyways, this will probably help a little bit in some cases. I think, as far as duo is concerned, I don't think that's a really huge deal, except in some of the extreme circumstances where you're having someone that's literally boosting somebody else, which doesn't happen as much as people think it does. They'll say boosted and stuff in chat, but literal someone actually getting boosted is quite rare. And one thing I would like to see actually is them narrow the band a little bit. So they do this once you get up into high platinum. A Diamond 4 player can only duo down to Platinum 2. I would like to see something like that. Maybe not that extreme, but, have it to where, like, a Gold 1 person could only duo with down to, like, at least a Gold person, a Gold 4, maybe even a Gold 3. So just, like, 2 or 3 divisions max. But right now, the maximum is an entire league. So you could have someone that's Gold 1 duoing down with someone that's Silver 4, right? Or the most extreme case that's allowable is someone who is Platinum 1 dueling with someone that's Gold 4, because once you get to Diamond, it tightens the band a little bit. But that's a little extreme. That's pretty rough. You don't see that often. Once again, it's sort of an extreme case, but I would like to see them tighten the band a little bit and maybe just get rid of duo queue in like Challenge or Plus. That doesn't apply to that many people that play the game, but there are some pro players that would be kind of mad about that, because especially bot laners like to practice with their other bot laner in solo queue and get that synergy practiced up. So anyways, whatever, it's fine. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on a lot of things. Okay. So Fiddlesticks, I don't like how they call these things visual reworks, by the way, because what they actually are gameplay reworks. When I hear visual rework, I'm thinking the champion just got some new models or, something visual related, right? But it's actually a rework, like a champion balance rework. They're just calling them all visual reworks now. But anyways, so people have asked me about Fiddlesticks a lot. I'm still not entirely on board with him being support. Although one thing that is a little more intriguing is just how cheap this is. Once I always said once the numbers come out, we'll see a little bit more. It is only 60 mana. Now it only charges for 2 seconds though, which is key. It used to be 5 seconds, and it used to be a lot more damage, but you had to charge it over 5 seconds, and let's be real, you really weren't going to get it for 5 seconds a lot of the time against most enemies. but it used to do a lot more damage. It used to do like, I don't know, 400% AP or whatever. So the AP ratio was a lot lower. It's 70%, but now it gives you so much of the target's missing health. But it's still 340 flat damage over 2 seconds. Now, 2 seconds is very doable. There will be a lot of situations where you can hold it for 2 seconds on somebody because the tether range is 850, which I think was also increased a little bit. So it's still pretty close range. And the big thing is that you get to heal. It damages everybody, and you get to heal off of that damage on people. So if you combine this with something like Ravenous Hunter, then that's going to give you quite a bit of sustain in the laning phase. So I could see this in like a perma push lane. The difference between this and the old E is that it's really hard to harass the enemy because you don't have anything that's long range that can bounce anymore, so you're not going to have that harassment, but you can push them really hard into the tower. So if you're in a heavy push lane, you can use that Bountiful Harvest to get the minions low if you're a support. However, I think this would be a lot better for like solo lane Fiddlesticks. I don't know if you'd play him into things like assassins, like LeBlanc or Katarina. I know that he was a hard counter to Katarina in the previous iteration because of that point-click fear. So I don't know if that's going to be the same deal. He obviously has the fear. They did knock a little duration off of it. It's 2 seconds at max rank now instead of 2.25. But it actually does damage. It used to do no damage. So I'm not sure, but like against melees, you might just be able to push them in hard just by channeling Bountiful Harvest on all of the minions. It's going to do a ton of damage. It doesn't do reduced damage against minions. So just like, you know, you get this to level 3 and it's almost going to clear the whole wave, you know, once you cast this once. And you get a refund of 60% of the remaining cooldown is refunded. And it's rank 60, or it's 60 mana at all ranks. I think it used to get up to 90 or 100 mana per channel. So he actually could have mana problems in longer fights. Obviously, in the jungle where he's intended to be, this is going to be massive. You're going to be able to take those raptors, take those wolves a lot faster than you used to be able to take them. And even the golems you'll be able to take a little bit faster. So I think this is going to help his jungle clear out a lot. I don't remember what the heal percentage is based on what it used to be. But it's still quite a lot. Even per minion total healing, right? If you get 3 points in this, I'm just imagining like a middle fiddle in the middle. Right, if you get 3 points in this, a minion wave rolls up. There's 6 minions. A channel on this is going to be total heal per minion, 33. So that's already like 200 heal. And then you also get per minion basically 11% AP. So that's going to be another like 70% AP healing. And you also get 4% of the target's missing health. On that last tick, you get a heal on that. So that's, I don't know, a lot. So he's basically going to be healing for 300 or 400 per wave that you put on him. And you don't like, you're not as dependent on AP anymore because you have percentage health here and you have percentage health here. Now, his base stats are still fairly low, although they're higher than they used to be. I mean, 580 is nothing to sneeze at. That's actually pretty tanky for level 1, and getting 92 per. And 34 armor is not like ultra tank level, but it's not ultra squishy either. So I'm wondering if you could go like a tanky, you know, type of fiddle build. And, you know, I don't know what that would be. If that's obviously Hourglass is going to be good. And that's nice because Hourglass doesn't have any mana on it. So now you could rush Hourglass a lot more effectively and not feel the burn on that. But then you might even be able to go something like Rod of the Ages on Fiddlesticks, or maybe even something like a Spirit Visage, like a tanky fiddle, because his base damage is going to be kind of high now, and that could be really toxic, this kind of, you know, super sustain CC machine with Terrify and Reap, and you would still do really high base damage off of this. So I think that, you know, especially against like other mage type of things, right? If you can get a Spirit Visage early and still, and like or a Rod of the Ages and still completely blast them, you know, with the base damage on Bountiful Harvest and Terrify, it's certainly a little more interesting. I think obviously jungle is going to be a little bit better, but I also think that like fiddle in the middle against some of these melee assassin, particularly mages, if that enables you to be able to take Spirit Visage at some point in your build, It could be extremely good. So that's the thing that really like caught my eye looking at the numbers here finally is just how much healing you get for minions that come in. And I can't believe they're giving you that much healing. Like I said, at level 5, even before you have any AP or whatever, it's going to heal you for like 50% of your health off of the minion wave, right? And it's on like a low cooldown. If you get a full charge off of that, and it only takes 2 seconds to do the full charge, not 5 seconds anymore. So you can just walk up to the wave, charge it. Even if they hit you a couple of times with stuff, who cares? You just heal through it, and then you get a 60% refund on it. So now all of a sudden it's down to like a 4-second cooldown without any CDR. So this thing is just going to be up. And if you get 40% CDR on it, it's the remaining refund, not the base refund. But if you get this down to like 5 seconds, then you can get the refunded version down to almost 2 seconds. So you can have this up almost permanently in fights. So I don't know. I feel like if you take Ravenous Hunter with this, I don't know how Conquer is going to stack with it. Dude, hold on. It depends on the AoE ability. Like, I don't know. I'm going to have to test this out, man. If this stacks Conquer every 0.25 seconds, if that stacks Conquer, there's no way they're going to allow that to happen, right? I'm going to have to try it out. But if that stacks Conquer, I mean, there are some abilities that do that, right? Like Urgot's little thing where he shoots all the stuff really quickly, that stacks Conquer off of each shot, off of one cast. And then you've got Garen's spin to win stacks Conquer, basically instantly. If this stacks Conquer, you know, it'd be almost instant, like 1 second fully stacked Conquer. That's just going to be insane for the healing and the AP. I mean, once again, his AP ratio is not crazy. They lowered his ratios quite a lot on different things, but still, like, it's still really good. So I don't know if that's possible, but I could see a build where you would go for something like, you know, Conquer, Presence of Mind, Coup de Grace, and then whatever you want to take in the middle. I guess maybe the Tenacity one in the middle, and then secondary you could go for, like, Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter, and just have like absurd, you know, sustain in team fights, especially if you have something like Spirit Visage in there, while you're still putting out really good sustained damage. It doesn't apply a slow on this. It can apply a heal, but you know, you might see more of a like a Rylai's, Leandri's type of build off of this as well, because the slow is going to be really good for keeping them in there for the channel. You can just be kind of like a drain tank, like a Swain-esque type of champion. Now, you can't move while you're draining. I watched some gameplay footage because it says that it's a tether and it channels, but you can't move. You still have to stand still. But nevertheless, I think like Fiddle in the middle is a really interesting option that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. So I don't know about support Fiddle just because you don't have any poke anymore, but you're insane wave clear and sustain, particularly against these melee champions. The Katarina, the Echo, the Diana, all of that stuff. He might have some pretty decent game against them, and the fact that he can push and roam really quickly, if you get like Moby Boots or something and then go roam bottom, is nice. Now, another thing they changed about him is the all of his abilities can fear now if the person hasn't seen you for a little bit. So if you roam bottom with like Moby Boots and you Crow Storm out of a bush, or later on in the game, if you get a really good Crow Storm and you hit like 2 or 3 people at once, then it will do a ton of damage. Now, I think if they see you, you still get the fear, but they get this debuff on them basically after X seconds out of combat, creates an aura of dread that affects all enemy units that do not have vision of it. Okay. So I think, and once again, I haven't played it, I'll have to see, but I believe that basically once they get that debuff, even if you just run at them and they see you, you can still cause dread on them. Now, I don't know how close you have to be for the range, because it says it's an aura. So I don't know if it's like you have to be within 1100 range of them unseen. That might be the case. I'm not really sure. But basically, the fact that they have... so he has multiple pieces of CC still. The Reap is the thing that's probably most different. It's just a Crescent Slash, which kind of sucks, I think. Its damage is pretty low compared to the other abilities. So I think this is like, you're probably going to max your Bountiful Harvest first, and then you max your Fear second, and then you go for Reap after that. It's basically just a very small silence for 1.25 seconds. It does have okay range at 850, so you can just kind of like slash people in a team fight. It's really good for stopping champions that are trying to channel something, Katarina. But overall, it's not going to provide as much utility in team fights, I don't think, as the Old Crow. But it is on a slightly lower cooldown later on, but you're not going to max that until last. Fear is now a lot more useful to max second also, because it's not only the fear duration, and that's your passive, is the fear duration, I believe, as well. So this affects how long the fear duration is. If you hit like 3 people with your ult, that is conditioned on how many points you have in Q. So you might even max Q first, but I think it's probably Bountiful Harvest for the wave clear, because it goes up quite a lot. From 100 damage to 340 is like a very large amount of scaling. And the mana cost doesn't go up at all on any of his abilities, which is pretty nice. And the fear duration goes down very little. It goes from 15 to 13 seconds. But I still think you want it, and it does increase the damage. People actually can take damage, right? So they take an initial 10% if this is maxed out. If they have already been feared and you fear them again, then it does extra damage. It does 20% of the target's current health. So what does this mean for Fiddle's itemization and like how he's going to get played? Obviously in the jungle, better wave clear against wolves and raptors that have traditionally been huge problems for him. So he's going to have much safer clear, much faster clear. So I think that's going to help him get to 6 faster. Taking Scuttle is still going to be kind of a problem early on. I don't think he's going to be able to harass or gank really that much better than he used to. He's just going to have a lot better wave clear to get to 6 to try to make plays. So I don't think he's going to be immediately like OP in the jungle, because he's still going to be able to get bullied in the same way as he has been in the past early on. So I think he'll be like, okay, maybe. In the jungle, he'll probably go up a little bit. I expect maybe his win rate goes up a couple percentages. But like I said, the big thing I'm looking for here is as an anti-assassin mid laner who can just push people in, get priority, roam, or just get vision control, push people in, and then get those kills on the assassin. So I see him as an anti-assassin mid laner potentially who has the option to go tanky, because you don't have to build as much AP, because your AP ratios are pretty trash. I mean, your Q has no AP ratio on it. This is okay ratio, but like a 0.7 when you're already dealing 340 and 16% of the target's current health, it's not that much. It's like, it's okay. 50% is bad on the E. Obviously the ult is good, right? Getting 225% AP, but that's still not as high as it used to be, I think. So AP is a priority, but the fact that he has so much base damage built into his kit means that you have a couple of new options. You can itemize into more tank items, which is going to still give you a lot of damage because you have that base percentage damage and the really high just flat base number. So that means you can afford to get something like a Spirit Visage early on, or something like a Rod of the Ages, or some other utility item I'm not really thinking of right now. I probably still wouldn't do Abyssal Mask. Guess it's possible. You are pretty close range, but Abyssal Mask is like really close range. It's like you have to be within 350 range for that aura to work. So I think Abyssal is a little out there. But I think that getting like percentage, rather flat pin would be really good too. So now something like a Morellonomicon is going to be better. Something like a Void Staff's going to be better. Leandri's is going to be a lot better. So I think that all of those become a lot more attractive options on him. Obviously, Hourglass is still going to be good on him. So I think that opens up a lot of build options, particularly for kind of a tanky Fiddlesticks, like a Diana-esque type of build, or a Swain type of build, an Echo type of build. Could be pretty decent, where now you're going to be kind of like a Magic Bruiser type of champion that has some of that all-in ultimate potential there. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Fiddle. We'll see how it works. I suspect the biggest surprise is going to be mid lane anti-assassin Fiddle once people figure that out. That's my prediction, but we'll see. So as far as support, once again, probably not a great support, although maybe there will be some cases. Mediocre jungler, maybe middle of the pack, up a little bit from where he was for sure. I think it's an improvement. I just don't know how much, but Fiddlesticks, that's something to keep your eye on, especially as a unique counter pick to some of these other mages, or just like melee assassin type of champions, particularly AP champs. Although against AD, against the Talon and the Zeds, the fact that he can rush Hourglass is pretty damn good too. So maybe he's good against the AD assassins as well. And it just feels like he's going to be a real like middle finger to a lot of melee assassins, which really makes me smile. As somebody who hates assassins. But anyways, we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But that's the thing that really shocked me was like the wave clear and the healing on it. It's like, oh my god, like that's so much healing. And I think that'll be really most abused in a solo lane. I guess you could try him top, but I think he's still going to have a hard time against bruisers. Like your Sets, your Darius, stuff like that. I feel like that would be a problem. They'd just be like, just run through his fear and just go kill him. But against the assassins, maybe good. Okay, Akali, perfect execution. They're taking it down to 100 seconds. I think this is really dangerous, especially for pro. I mean, she definitely has been nerfed, but I've seen, like, people can still work around that targeted R on the first one. It just you can't be as safe if someone is running right at you. You can't jump away. But if they're trying to flank you, you can still jump to them and potentially get away. So it does make her a little bit less safe than she used to be, but I don't know. Now they've lowered the cooldown on this by 60 seconds in exchange because they already knocked 40 off of it before. Now, the thing that I read here, which is kind of whatever, is it says, in the earlier patch, we adjusted the ultimate so the targeting is less free access, but using her ultimate is an important part of her gameplay satisfaction, so we're loosening the leash on it a bit. It's not satisfaction. I don't know. Words like that kind of trigger me a little bit because it's not a feeling. It's not like, oh, I emotionally feel happier because of how, like, her Akali, or her ultimate, being down 20 seconds. It's like, no, it's actually literally really good because she has to have her ult to have a lot of kill threat unless she's insanely fed. So it's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's like, it's numbers. Like, it's the truth. It is a lot stronger. It's not a feeling. I think just casting it as like, oh, it feels good, is trying to like downplay just like how powerful something like that can be. So it's not subjective. It's objectively way more powerful. That's going to allow her to snowball a lot harder, get multiple kills with very, very little cooldown. So I'm a bit worried for pro. Now, in solo queue, she might go up a couple of percentage points on this, but I think this could bring her back into maybe not a 100% pick ban, but a lot more consideration on that because you're just going to have a lot more potential. And there are so many champs like this. You can't tell me that, that she needs this as part of her gameplay satisfaction, her ultimate to be 100 seconds, and you can't even give a Mumu like a 130. Come on. Like, Amumu's not even a champion if he doesn't have his ult most of the time. And it's 150 seconds. For real? So, it's like, I don't know. I generally am in favor of lowering ult cooldowns, especially ones that are not global. Lowering the ult cooldowns and rebalancing elsewhere. Because I agree with her. It does feel good, and it's objectively, really powerful when ults have lower cooldowns. So I think that most of these assassin type of cooldowns should be about 120 seconds. Or if it's a team fight cooldown that a champion really, really needs to function, like a Malphite ult or an Amumu ult, I think that should be, 130 seconds, 130, 140 seconds. I don't think you should be having like 150 seconds for things like Amumu's ult and Janna's ult. This feels a little ridiculous. I mean, for Karthus, those global ults that hit everywhere that are just like insanely strong, yes, 180, 200 seconds. It's fine. For TF, Karthus, Shen, those global ults that are really obnoxious to play around in other lanes, yes, long cooldowns. But other stuff, I feel like it really should be much closer to 120. So I like the idea. I'm just worried that it could make her a little bit too strong for really, really good players. For average Joe, average Jane, and solo queue, probably not going to matter, though. Just would have the biggest impact on pro scene and challenger. Okay, direct hit burn, not going to matter. I still don't think Corki's that great in the meta overall right now. I mean, he just doesn't do that much. I mean, he pokes, but there are other, like Zoe, for example, is just a way stronger Corki, I think. So I don't know. I'm not really sure why he was being played against things like Azir. I mean, it makes sense why he gets played against Sylas sometimes because he basically doesn't have an ultimate that Sylas would want to steal, so that makes sense, but I guess I just don't understand the matchups around Corki that much, but he just seems like he has just been, like, ultra obscure. I haven't seen him at all. I've been watching some more pro games lately. He's got a 0% win rate. He was picked 4 times, so I don't know. I don't think this is going to move the needle on him. I think his package needs to be on a lower cooldown if they really want to make him identify as this roaming mid laner because it already like sounds the alarm when he has it. Like people have a ton of notice, or they could take away the sound on it and make people actually like manage the cooldowns and use wards to scout and figure out where he is. Like, why does he have a special announcement like map wide whenever he gets the package? Is that really necessary? Is it that dangerous? Like, oh my god, he can come in, 10% faster and jump on me. It's like, that's any mid laner, right? Whenever their ultimate is up, they can roam down and jump on you and kill you. Why does Talon not have a package sound go off whenever his ult's up, It's just like, why? Why are you, giving people that free information when there are so many other more threatening champions out there? So I think just some quality of life stuff like that, like either take that sound away, give him a lower cooldown, or if you're going to give that sound, you damn well better make it worth it. Like, he better get, 50% bonus movement speed or something. Maybe not that extreme, but, it better be a really big deal. So, I don't know. I think there are just too many safety valves on Corki. There's other champions that do what he's trying to do better. Okay, this is one of the more interesting ones. Galio, W grants this passive magic damage shield to all allied champions in the area he casted it at, the area where he cast it, for 5 seconds. Okay, so the grammar on that is a little wonky. I'm going to have to see that in action. My question is, so he presses R, it shows up in an area. Does it tag everyone in that area for 5 seconds with a shield, and if they walk out, they keep the shield? So they just get a 5-second shield no matter what? Or is it if they're in that area, they have a shield, and if they walk out, they lose it? And can you walk into that area if you weren't there initially? So if you were outside of the blast zone initially, can you walk in and pick up that shield and get 5 seconds on it? So does it refresh if you walk out and then you walk back in? So I'm not really sure. It probably doesn't refresh, but I just don't know the exact logistics because the grammar's kind of weird there. But either way, that's going to be really nice. I'm not sure if it's going to all the way bring Galio back into the meta. He does have some other problems out there. He's not picked that much. I don't know what his exact win rate is. I feel like it's probably not great. Where is he? Am I missing him? What's going on? Oh, there he is. Yeah, 49%. So I guess it's not that bad, but that's going to make him a lot better against heavy magic damage like double AP solo laners. If you're up against something like a Rumble and a Kennen, being able to jump in there, you're against like a Zyra or something like that. That kind of solidifies him as sort of a anti-engage, anti-mage type of champion. So I don't think that's necessarily going to make him super OP, but I think that that's certainly a good thing for him. So sure, sounds good. Really highlights his identity as anti-mage. I like that. I like when champions feel very distinctive, like they have a mission, they know what they're due. Not necessarily like only a hard counter to other things, but they have a really clear identity why you would pick that champion over other similar champions. So I like this. AoE, anti-mage, good stuff. Okay, Garen. Glad to see they're nerfing this champ. I don't know. I just hate him. He's so easy to play, and he's so effective. And I like, that's okay for, like, newer players, but I just don't feel like Garen should be a viable pick in Platinum Plus, for the most part. I feel like he's pretty much always going to be strong in, like, Silver, Bronze, Iron, stuff like that, where just having that reliability is really at a premium. But I just don't feel like he should be strong in the higher low brackets. Okay, so the cooldown, 8 seconds, so he has to be out of combat for 8 seconds. I don't think that's going to matter that much, maybe a little bit in some circumstances. Now, this one does kind of matter. Early on, Decisive Strike, the movement speed is going from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. So I guess you only have to put, like, 2 points in it to start getting a lot more value out of it. So I don't guess that's, like, an insane nerf. But I think, in general, you want to max your E. I'm not 100% about that. I guess it depends on what you want to max. If you were maxing E first, this is going to be a pretty substantial nerf because you're not going to be able to run at them, right? You're only going to be able to have 1 second instead of 1.5 seconds, and they can probably kite you out for that amount of time. But if you were maxing Q, I guess it's not that big of a deal. By level 5, it's going to be about the same. So it's going to 2.3 seconds instead of 2.5. So if you were maxing Q, this is only going to affect you like levels 1 to 4 a little bit. But if you were maxing E first, which I think is the more common max, then this could actually be pretty substantial. It's going to, nerf you all the way up through like level 8 or so. You're going to feel a lot slower. So I think that's good. I mean, he has a pretty high win rate, and he's like one of the easiest champions in the game to play. He's 53% win rate. I think that's pretty ridiculous. I think a champion that is that consistent should be a lot closer to 50%, 51, percent, something like that. So anyways, good nerf. Okay, Ivern. Base damage is up. Now you max this first, so that's good. Now this is not going to affect your wave clear at all, obviously, because you just have Friend of the Forest in the jungle. The real problem with Ivern, I think, is his early levels, because he is really delayed on his experience, because he has to wait on the camps to charge up before he can take them. So it makes him extremely vulnerable to getting invaded, especially on his first round of setup. So, like, what I would really like to see them do is those camps charge faster. Like, it doesn't have to be insanely faster, but just a little bit, right? Just, like, maybe 3 to 5 seconds faster on the camp charges, and I think that would help out a ton. Or make it to where it doesn't cost him as much health, right? It can still cost him a lot of mana, but the fact that he, has to drop down to virtually no health to get a clear off in the jungle is kind of problematic. So, I don't know. Like, his ganks are already really suspect early on. He doesn't take dragons really well. Dragons are very important. He doesn't take Rift very well. He doesn't take towers very well. So there's a lot of stuff in the meta right now that a lot of the top-end junglers do that he doesn't do. Doesn't gank, doesn't take objectives. I mean, like, you can gank, but it's not nearly as brutal as a lot of the other top-level champs. So I just think that puts him in a really weird spot, and especially since enchanters are already strong, he doesn't really gain as much of a benefit if there's another enchanter in the game, right? If there are 2 people buying Redemption, 2 people buying Ardent Censer, you're losing a lot of the value off of those items. So Ivern really likes it a lot more when you have like a tank in the bot lane, which you're still seeing those, right? You're still seeing the Thresh, the Leona, the Nautilus, but you're seeing a lot more things like Yuumi, Nami, Janna are all creeping back up into the meta a little bit. So it's not necessarily that he's like unplayable when those champions are good. It's just that, like I said, the itemization is not as impactful because other champs are going to be getting like your big ticket team fight items. So you may not need it as much. So as you can see, kind of the pick rate here, your Thresh is still up there. Senna's not going to get the enchanter item, so you're good on that. So the top 2 you work fairly well with, but it's like the Yuumi, the Nami, the Lulu. You're not going to be as strong with those champions out there. But Nautilus and Leona are still popular, so he's okay. I like the change. Will 30 extra damage at rank 9 really matter that much? Probably not. It's possible, but I doubt it. Now, 20 seconds off of the ult. This is another thing where lowering the ult timer is really important for him, because this is not like a global, super high impact ultimate. Like, it's good, and he has to have Daisy to gank. Another thing they should make for Daisy, and I don't know, maybe this would make it too powerful, but she should not be allowed to get smited. Like, that's one of the things, because you really need her for his kit to function. Like, she adds a lot of extra disruption, a lot of extra tankiness to the fights. She's really important to who he is, what his identity is. But the fact that the enemy jungler can come up and smite her, for like almost all of her health, almost just one-shot her off of a smite, it's pretty ridiculous, I think. Especially in later game team fights. So, I don't know how they get around that other than just giving her a ton of HP, which would mean you're never going to kill her unless the jungler is there with smite. So that's kind of tough to balance around unless you just make her immune to smite. I don't even know if they can do that coding-wise. I don't think you should be able to smite player minions, though. Just in general. I don't think you should be able to smite Tibbers or Daisy or whatever, because that's just basically like almost disabling somebody's ultimate for like a 40-second summoner spell. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's just one of those really weird, it's like why League doesn't have a disenchant in the game, right? Like, or just something that removes buffs off of people. Like, just imagine, I mean, they have like QSS, which personally removes like some debuffs off of you, but that's why they took away QSS's ability to get rid of some of the other debuffs out there that aren't crowd control, right? So you used to be able to QSS like a Zed's ult, That just feels so bad for Zed, right? That you can get your ultimate just like hard countered by, you know, this item. And I mean, there are champs that do that. You know, QSS hard counters Malzahar, kind of hard counters Mordekaiser and stuff like that. So it's still there, but just the ability to just remove something like that just feels kind of bad, right? So I don't know. It'd be like being able to cleanse like disenchant like a Vayne ult or something like Vayne ult. She's coming in hot. It's like, yeah, let's do this, and then it's just like, oh, your ult's not there anymore. I don't know. It just kind of feels bad. So that's kind of one of the big problems with Daisy overall. So it's nice they're lowering the cooldown by 4 seconds, but there are other issues with Ivern, many of which I just enumerated. So I think that he can do well, and I really like Ivern. I really want him to do well. He probably is my favorite jungler to jungle with. I guess he's at a 52% win rate, so it's not that bad. That's mostly one-tricks playing him, though. He has less than a 1% play rate. So, okay. I'll take it. Kaisa, supercharged. So your E is going down to 12 seconds at max rank. So typically you don't max this, or a lot of people max this second, I believe. So, this won't really matter until you start getting to like level 13. Level 12, level 13, this might start to matter a little bit, so I don't think that's gonna be a huge deal. Now, I don't think Kaisa is as bad as people think she is right now. She does have like a low win rate, 47's obviously not good, almost 48. But I still feel like if you're really good on Kaisa, you can make her work. She has pretty much no pro presence right now, so she could use a little love. I guess doing that, you're not buffing her up too much, but that's fine. That seems like a pretty harmless buff. Okay, Nasus, Wither, range 700, and so that's really good because that's going to put you in range to be able to wither things like Caitlyn, Senna, Ashe, some of these longer range 80 carries. It's going to be, you're going to be able to wither them before you get into their attack range. So I think that's pretty nice. And then Spirit Fire. The 10% armor shred's actually a big deal because I think most of the time you get Spirit Fire, you max that last. It might depend on the matchup. I wish they'd lower the mana cost on Spirit Fire because it gets to be like 100-something mana. Maybe they think that'd give him too much wave clear if they lower the cost. In general, I'm a big fan of lowering mana costs and lowering cooldowns just because people should be able to cast more spells. Casting spells is cool, it's fun, it's satisfying, it allows for a lot more outplay potential. It just makes the game more interesting, I think, if people were casting more spells. So, you know, I don't think they should get rid of mana completely, but I think some costs, especially on some of these, you know, legacy champions that have been around for a million years since Season 1, and they haven't really had their mana costs adjusted, can kind of be a bit of a feels bad. Let me see, because I feel like it gets to over 100 mana. And I just don't think that most normal abilities, especially on a tank, I mean, like, he'll get Frozen Heart sometimes, but, you know, he really should not have to invest that much mana in tanky items. Like, he just shouldn't have to buy that much mana. He shouldn't have to itemize that much mana as a tank, right? Like, I feel like mages should have to itemize mana, but he shouldn't. Yeah, 130 mana. Like, what the hell? Why? It's like an ability that does 215 damage, costs 30 mana. We just saw a Fiddlesticks W. You know, it's different, but it's AoE, 60 mana, does 340 damage. Right? It's like these modern day champions with their mana costs are just like ridiculous. All of these remakes and everything, like the mana costs are always so much lower. Just lower his mana. Why does it have to be that much? Like, just like, you know, either 50 and do it by 10, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or, you know, maybe 60 and do it by 5, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. But yeah, that's just entirely too much mana. So it makes it hard for him to get priority in the lane and wave clear if you want to. Yes, a lot of times you do want to sit there and just get stacks with him, but having the option to pressure, wave clear, and go, you know, contest scuttles or help with Rift or go take Gromp or something like that, he's not going to have nearly as many strategic options as a lot of other champs. So I like the idea. I like that it's shredding the armor. You put the Wither on him. You drop the Spirit Fire. Your Q's going to hit a lot harder because now their armor is going to be shredded more. But I just don't think it's enough. Now, Gnosis is dangerous. You don't want him to be too strong. But I don't know. I think they could definitely stand to lower that mana cost a little bit. Okay, Nocturne, health regen is down to 7. Okay. So that's per 5. So there's 12 ticks of that. So basically every you're losing 18 health per minute. Pretty much, assuming that you're damaged at all, that you're not at perfect health, you're going to be losing 18 health per minute off of that. So, 5-minute laning phase, you're going to be down 90 health. That does add up over time, but I just don't think it's enough. I mean, yes, you're going to be losing 18 health per minute, but you're also going to be gaining 84 health per minute. So yeah, it's like you're losing 90, but you're also gaining like 400 something over time. So if you're starting off with like about 700 health after items and just like HP growth per level and things like that, maybe you're going to end up with like 1200 effective health. Maybe more than that. You do have lifesteal off of your passive. So maybe your effective health before your first back is like 1500, including regen, leveling up, your passive, all of that stuff. And you're going to be losing about 90. So ultimately you're losing about, on your first back or two, you're losing maybe 5 to 7% of your effective health. Is that going to make a huge difference? Probably not on a champion that already has other sustain in his kit. Most champions that have other sustain in their kit have much lower levels of regen anyways. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. The magic resist growth per level, first 5 levels, you're going to have 2.5% or 2.5 less magic resist. So it's half a point per level, not including base. So, ultimately mages are going to be able to do, somewhere in the ballpark of 2.5% more damage to you. I don't think it's going to matter that much. I don't think Nocturne Middle is like super oppressive. I know some people on the channel have been a big fan of it, and other content creators have talked about how strong it is. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't think it was that insane, but whatever. It's fine. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Okay, Riven getting the health regen per level. So she's getting 1.5. Now, it matters a little bit more on Riven, the health regen, than it does on Nocturne for a couple of reasons. Number one, she doesn't have anything else in her kit that's going to heal you. Offhand, right? Whereas Nocturne has other ways to heal. Also, she has a shield, right? And so the more like health that she has, she's able to leverage that more and more and more because she's able to get those repeatable shields over time. So as long as she has some sustain in her kit, she can mitigate quite a bit of damage with that shield. So, and her base health, she's getting +5, whatever. So I don't think this is a huge deal, but then again, I mean, back in the day, now they nerfed her from like 9 health per 5 down to 5, which is much more significant. I mean, that's losing 48 health per minute. Pretty much, that's a big one. This is only going to give you, the inverse of Nocturne, 18 health per minute. But that does add up on Riven, especially, she is a champion that does go for those all-ins, especially early on. And, having an extra 50 or 60 health after a few minutes could end up being a pretty big deal. So, I don't think this is going to break Riven, but also I'm not even entirely sure that Riven needs buffs right now. I feel like she's already pretty strong, so that's probably fine. Okay, Talon. Now, this is one of the more confusing things here. Like, I personally don't think that Talon is really OP right now. He does have a 53% win rate, so I guess just maybe my experience in my games, I'm just remembering the Talons that get really far ahead and then throw the game later, and then they're worthless at a certain point. But this is a massive, massive nerf, especially to early game Talon. I believe he levels this first. So maybe it will kind of level out a little bit. But going from 70 damage down to 45, that's 25 base damage gone. And then this is going to be an additional 5 early on, or 5 at all ranks rather. So that's going to be 30 extra damage that you're losing at level 1. Level 1 and level 2. Level 3, I guess you're getting a little bit back. It's going to 25 lost damage. But if he can't really, like, all in, it's going to be a problem. Now, one big thing with Talon, though, is he actually can kill you. Like, if you don't know what's going on, you're not prepared for it, he can kill you at level 2 and level 3. And there are a lot of those assassin type of champions that can't really do that as easily as Talon can. He's sort of notorious for, like, a level 2 kill with his passive. So, I guess that's okay if you're nerfing his laning damage, but then by the time he's able to roam, so, like, right here, when he gets 3 points in this, I guess he's still losing 20 damage off of his all-in. Now, yes, he is getting some extra for the bonus attack damage, but I don't think that's going to matter that much. It's really about, like, the early game, trying to snowball, making sure that you get that kill off of your first ult, if not earlier in the laning phase. Stuff like that is what matters. So getting the 10 extra bonus attack damage later, helps out a little bit, but not that much. So basically, it's going to hurt his early game. It's going to hurt his laning. We'll see how it goes. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of other options. If he doesn't get ahead, he's worthless. If he doesn't kill somebody with one rotation, he's pretty much worthless. Like, he has, I think, literally no CC. I don't remember if his Q silences or not. But he has very, very limited CC. He's not tanky at all. He's just an extremely risky champion. So, we'll see. Versus things like Echo. Echo has his stun. Echo has a bunch of different movement speed buffs. Echo basically has 2 health bars, with his ult. Echo has a massive shield with his W that can also stun AoE a bunch of people for like 2.25 seconds. Echo's really OP, right? Diana, similar type of story, right? She's got her orbs, gives her extra tankiness. She's got, extra mobility. She does a lot of sustained damage with her auto attack speed buff. So I think there are just a lot of other assassins that bring more utility and similar damage and just overall more reliable performance than Talon is. So we'll see. We'll see. But Talon does have that. I mean, like I said, that was his thing. He can get online earlier and he can murder people in the laning phase, and on his first roam, he can rotate and get those early kills. So he was a much earlier tempo threat than the Diana or the Echo in a lot of circumstances, but he pays for that by being riskier. So we'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty substantial nerf. Like, he'll probably still be viable, but I think he'll go down to like 51% or something. I just think that people are just going to play those other types of champs instead. Okay, Wukong. Champion's super overpowered. Like, really, really strong right now. So they're just saying, he's outperforming our expectations despite our success at bringing his multiple positions closer in power to each other. Okay, so they're all OP now. We'll continue to tune him a little bit as players master him. There's not tuning going on here. Like, I'm pretty sure he's literally the highest win rate champion in the game. At 55%. Like, who reads this champion's ability and thinks it's okay? Right? Like, let me just read you this real quick. Just look how much extra there is. What the hell? Look at how extra this champion is, as the kids might say. We're getting haunted by Teemo. I don't know what's going on with these ads. Sorry about that. I like to keep the ads up as long as they're not too intrusive, because I want to support, where I get these this information from. But, like, this reminds me of, like, Irelia, Jarvan, Irelia on her rework, Akali. I mean, so many rework champions just have so much extra stuff. It's like, why do they have all this? Like, look at Wukong's Q, for example. Okay, 40 mana, so he has no mana cost, pretty much. Scales down, so now he gets bonus range, so he gets 175 extra range on it. It's an auto attack reset, so that means that he basically gets his auto attack damage, which is, even in the early game, going to be 80. So this thing says 130 plus, so it's basically, early on, it's going to be a lot closer to 200. That scales up a lot more. Later on, it's probably going to be closer to like 400 or 500 damage on this. And it reduces armor. Not just you do extra damage or you personally ignore armor, but he reduces the armor for everyone on your whole team. So your AD carry's doing more damage, your Jarvan from the jungle is doing more damage. all of these champions are doing more damage because you're reducing the armor. So armor shred for your entire team, and your clone actually can get this ability too. So your clone can do empowered Q damage, which also applies the armor shred, gets the extra range, and all the extra garbage there. For 40 mana, on a low cooldown. What? Why? Why does it have all of that? Warrior Trickster. Okay, so now not only are you invisible for a certain length of time, where you can, activate your Ghost Blade and run up to somebody, but now you get a 300 unit blink on top of that. So now you can blink for 300, and instead of the clone just sitting there doing nothing, it actually starts doing your abilities. It can even mimic your ultimate and knock people up and do 50% of your ultimate's damage. And your Q damage. And your Nimbus Cloak damage. So basically all of your abilities, in theory, if you put that clone in the middle of a fight, can do 50% extra damage. Why? Nimbus Strike, basically the same thing. But it's like, okay, you get to dash onto somebody. It makes you... it sends out untargetable clones. Okay, but they can still block abilities. So they can still block like hooks and things like that if you do those clones, which is, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. But you get to dash to your target, which is 625 away. So now you can decoy in, right? So you can dash 300 units, go invisible for, 1 second, which will allow you to close at least another 100 units, and then dash on top of them for 625. So now you basically have, somewhere north of 1,000 engage range. Potentially without them even seeing you if you come out of a bush, or you go invisible in a bush. And then on top of that, just randomly, you get extra attack speed bonus for 5 seconds. So not only can you jump on people and do decent burst and, set up for your ultimate, but you also get attack speed for 5 seconds. And on top of that, while you're spinning your ultimate, it refreshes the duration of the attack speed. What? So now you can jump on top of somebody with Nimbus Cloak. Throw your clone out if you want to. So just jump on them out of a bush with Nimbus Cloak. Do a crushing blow with your Q. Throw your clone out. Do another crushing blow. And then as soon as this attack speed's about to drop, you can just ult and get the attack speed back up. There's 1 second left on this. You can ult again and get up to 9 seconds of attack speed there. You can do even more because now you can ult twice. So it's like, why does this refresh your attack speed bonus from Nimbus Cloak? Why can you do it twice? Why does your clone able to do it? Why is it a 120 second cooldown? Why does it do 32% of the target's max health and 440% of your total AD? Not even bonus AD, total AD. So you have one item, you have Ghost Blade or something like that, right? Which I think gives 55 AD, and then you have your base AD, which is probably going to be somewhere close to 80. You've got a Doran's Blade, you've got some runes and some random crap. So let's just say it's 150 total AD that you have off of Ghost Blade. And then you channel them up for this. That's 660 damage. Off of just level 6, one item. And 32% of their max HP. So if their max HP is 1,000... it's Ghost Blade level 6 does 1,000 damage. AoE knocks everybody up. That's if you don't touch them with anything. Not with a Nimbus Strike or a refreshed Q. Trickster Warrior's not doing 50% extra damage. You add in Trickster Warrior. Now it's 1,500 damage. So you Nimbus Strike on top of somebody. Throw out your Trickster Warrior. Ult again. Yeah, they may not be able to, stand in it the whole time. And you're not going to, get this rosiest of scenarios. But he's so versatile now, too, right? You can go in with your Nimbus Strike, start your ult. Then they're just oh, crap, Wukong's on top of me. They flash away. No problem. You just close the gap again with Warrior Trickster and ult on him again. It's it's just way too much damage. and just way too much utility. You have like 2 different dashes now. One of them allows you to go invisible, low cooldown, like huge AoE ultimate. So you can delete people if you're behind. You can still knock everybody up. You can apply armor shred to everybody against those tanks. You get a lot of extra attack speed in case you need to break the tanks. You have maximum health damage now. And just randomly, like, your passive in a team fight, you know, gives you, at level 11, 35 extra AD and 35 extra magic resist. Wait, what? Bonuses stack up to... Oh, never mind. Okay, so it's even worse than I thought. Okay, so it's no longer how close you are to multiple enemies. This can even be just, like, one enemy in an all-in that you're stacking this up against. Whenever they damage, too. It's not even a basic auto attack. So your ult, every tick of your ult, which is what, 0.25 seconds, charges it up. So it's basically let's just insta-charge Conquer. Let's just insta-charge up this ultimate here. Let's just give him, you know, 45 extra armor at level 11, 45 extra magic resist, which is, you know, in the ballpark of 1,600 to 1,800 free tanky stats. And give him 3% of his max health regeneration in combat while he's doing... It's just like, there's just so much absurd stuff going on with Wukong. It's like, who the hell, like, why? They could give him half of this stuff, and he would still be really strong. It's like, we need to tweak him a little bit. Let's just fiddle with his numbers just a little bit. Right? Like, let's let him keep most of his stone skin, but his real problem is when he gets to level 18, let's lower the magic damage... or the magic resist and the armor. Let's lower it by 2 per stack when he's at level 18 and 6 items. That'll fix it. When he's got 3,000 health and he's one-shotting everybody. That's the cure. And the base damage on Nimbus Strike, I'm pretty sure this is what you max last, I would imagine. I mean, maybe you max the clone last. It's certainly not what you max first. You max Crushing Blow first. You probably max Nimbus second. But still, like, in the early levels, it's not going to matter that much. It's like, okay, so level 11, he's going to do 40 less damage on Nimbus Strike. Who cares? It doesn't even matter. I'm not even entirely sure that it's wrong, because, like, this is a lot of extra damage. 20% extra clone damage, and you're lowering the cooldown on it by quite a bit. And you're lowering the mana cost on it. I haven't studied up his exact... like, skill order, but Warrior Trickster does not seem, in theory, that much worse than Nimbus, depending on how you want to use it. But either way, slap on the wrist damage-wise. But now he can queue up his W and his R, so you can do it instantly while you're Nimbus striking in. They don't even have, like, that millisecond where you have to press the key in order to get away from it. So, I just think that's way too strong. Anyways, we're running out of time here. So yeah, Wukong, you know, maybe he goes down to 54.5% off of that. He's still going to be way too strong. A lot of people don't even know how to play him yet. And he still already has a 55% win rate. Okay, Xin Zhao, 112. Okay, so later in the game, he'll get some more healing off of that. I don't think that's going to matter that much, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, he's mostly an early game champion. I guess this helps him out later on, particularly if you want to go for, like, a Gensu's or something build, which people never get on him. Or, like, maybe if people go for something like a Blade of the Ruined King, Gensu's build on Xin Zhao and just go for more offense early. I don't know if that's a thing, but if they do, if you're able to, you know, proc your passive heal multiple times with Gensu and you have a lot of extra attack speed and stuff like that, maybe that heal comes in. I mean... at level 18, yes, getting like 40 more per heal, that's obviously going to be a good thing, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. Okay. Conditioning, 12 minutes. Okay, you know, it is a good rune. I mean, I guess for like the tanks, I just feel like tanks aren't, like there are some tanks that are really good right now. Like Zac, really good. Ornn, still okay. But I feel like tanks across the board still are not, like... I don't feel like Sion's amazing right now. I don't feel like Sejuani's amazing right now. So... I mean, conditioning is a very good rune. I get that on Rakan all the time when a lot of Rakans get bone plating. But it does end up giving you like 500 gold worth of stats on a minor rune, which is pretty good. 500 or 600, even if you don't buy a lot of extra armor and magic resist, it's still extremely good. So that's probably fair. Okay, whatever. I wish they would at least do that thing like they did with boots, where if you get a kill or an assist, it lowers it a little bit. So if you're being more proactive and making plays, it kind of feels good. You can kind of get it back to, if you're snowballing, you can get it back to 10 minutes. But whatever, that's fine. Okay, phase rush remains suboptimal. I still can't think of many champions that are going to want to do this. I mean, like Xin Zhao, maybe, but it's just like any melee champion is probably going to run Conquer. Anyone that would want Phase Rush is probably going to want Conquer instead. So that's the thing. It's like, yeah, maybe like Darius would like something like this. Jax, or, I think Xin Zhao is the most prominent one historically who would like Phase Rush, but now it just feels like you're trolling if you don't take Conquer. Like, Conquer's just too strong still. Years later, is just still too strong of a rune. So I just think that no one's going to do that. Like, the main people that are going to run Phase Rush will be like Cassiopeia or Ryze, or some of these like ranged type of champs might be interested in it, but I just don't think a lot of melee champs are going to do that. One for all, whatever. What does it matter? This is actually pretty important if you play these champions. Tristana, Miss Fortune, Draven, and Master Yi all had abilities that canceled your auto attack animation. So you would lose an auto in there if you press your W to activate Miss Fortune's attack speed off of struts. That's actually pretty significant. Miss Fortune's probably the most relevant one, but there's a couple of other ones like where that could matter. So that actually is pretty nice. Okay, so now you can do Hex Flash with Nimbus Cloak. I guess that's kind of cute. I have to think about that one a little bit. I'm not really sure of a lot of situations where a champion would have both of those, but I'm sure there are some. Okay. Vi is no longer unstoppable when her R is interrupted in any way. Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay, so Vi is a little more vulnerable to CC. Anyways, that's going to be it for this patch. Thank you very much. So, biggest things that are probably significant. The conditioning is going to make, like, tank supports a little bit more vulnerable for a longer duration of the game. Wukong still OP. Talon, probably one of the bigger nerfs on the patch. Riven probably won't matter that much. Maybe a little bit. Nocturne, not going to matter. Nasus, nice, but probably not going to matter. Kaisa doesn't matter. Ivern, good quality of life, probably not going to matter. Garen, weaker earlier. Galio, potentially one of the bigger buffs on the patch. Very good buff that clarifies his role as sort of an AoE anti-mage. Akali, huge buff. And Corki, not going to matter. And I think that pretty much covers it. So, anyways, and Fiddlesticks, watch out for Middlesticks. Fiddle in the middle. I think that could be the sleeper that's going to be really OP on this patch. It'll probably take people at least a few days, maybe a week or two to figure that out. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see everybody next time.